We're starting a review for the test, and these questions are supposed to be pretty easy ones. I looked, and I thought it was interesting that there's only one thing that's not in a parenthesis. All your answers are going to be in a parenthesis, except axis of symmetry. Very good. And axis of symmetry is not just a number. It's got something in front of it. It's the axis of symmetry. All right, so you can answer these questions. You have about 2 minutes. We'll only be reviewing for a couple of minutes. This page, this should be your bread and butter, like, oh, easy peasy. Find the notes, please. I'd like you to stay after. We got to talk about when class starts. Okay, so the vertex. That's this spot right there. Regent, what's the vertex? 3, negative 16. Good. And that's a point. A point. Not an interval. When I put the y-intercept, that's also going to be a point. When I do the x-intercepts, there's 2 of them. That's also going to be points. The first one that's not a point is the range, but it kind of looks like a point. Except all of a sudden, since it's not a point, it has a bracket here. If you didn't do that on your range, you should fix that. All right, Esh, the axis of symmetry. No, you can't just say 3. X equals 3 is correct. All right, so the next thing is the increasing interval. And that's also parentheses. Decreasing interval, parentheses. Look at that. They're almost all parentheses with a comma. All right. Peppenfuss, the y-intercept. I know it's right there. And I could see a kid saying 7, 0 and being so wrong, even though there is a 7 involved. So you should ask yourself, when you see something like 7, 0, is it the y-intercept where x is 0? Oh, yeah, it's got to be 0. And then it's not 7. What do you say for the answer? 0, negative 7. That is correct. The x-intercepts are these guys, and one of them's 7. But you can't just say 7, of course. The x-intercepts have y is 0. All right. And so the other one is negative 1, 0. The range, that's low to high. If you don't have that memorized, you're going to screw this up. So, because you don't know what the range is unless you know low to high, or lowest to highest, or down to up. Negative 16 is the lowest it goes, and it touches there. That's why there's a bracket. This isn't a point. It's the first time it's not a point. It's from negative 16 to infinity. Because the highest this thing goes, there are arrows on the end, so it goes to infinity. Increasing interval, that's this part right here. That's where it's increasing. You always say x values. So this one's x value. It's very tempting to use this. That's not the x value, that's the y value. X value was 3 to infinity. That's where it's increasing. The decreasing is the other part, which is like from here to here, it was decreasing, which is from negative infinity until 3. Process that for a second. At the end, a lot of people are going to mess up increasing and decreasing because they get them confused. Yes?
So range is the only one with the bracket? Like
That is correct.
Why would you bracket the 3 on increasing interval?
Because intervals never have brackets.
Okay.
The argument you get into is it increasing at 3? At the point 3. Is it increasing?
No.
See, that's why it doesn't want a bracket.
Alright.
Does not really include it. So keep your life simple. Intervals, they don't have brackets. Ever. Increasing and decreasing intervals are just parentheses always. And they're always only x values. All right. How many of you feel like you can get like 6 out of 8 of these things right? Raise your hand. Okay, good. So you're on track for getting the absolute, basics down. Now this one's like a easy, harder problem. It's easy because there's a formula and it's given. So I'll give it to you right now. To be able to find the vertex of this thing, you will need this formula. Anybody remember from yesterday? Negative b over 2a. Very good. And that'll tell you the x of the vertex. And you'll have like 3 comma something. And then you stick it in the function. So this 3 goes in the function and you figure out that question mark there, that's going to separate the a's from the b's. Can you find negative b over 2a? Well, that's pretty easy. Finding the 3, I'm not saying it's really 3. You figure out what it is. I think it might be 4, or it might be negative 4. All right, so take a second. Use negative b over 2a. And for the y-intercept, you just have to memorize what I told you about the y-intercept. It's where x is 0. You stick in a 0 and a 0, and the y-intercept becomes really easy. You've got to remember to never give just numbers, though. If you got negative 10 for your answer for the y-intercept is where x is 0. 0, negative 10. Sure, that is the y-intercept, but you can't just say negative 10. All right, now try to get that vertex. This is the new thing from yesterday. The max-min is easy if you know who max is. Axis of symmetry, that's this. Pattern of change, you can cross it out. We do not do that. On the test, we will not ask you for the pattern of change, so don't worry about that. All right, if you were stuck on the negative b over 2a, it's probably just because you're not sure what a and b are. Negative b is negative 8. 2a is 2 times 2, which I'm just going to put 4 there, because that's what 2 times 2 is. And 8 divided by 4 is 2, and it's negative. It came out to negative 2. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Awesome. And notice you've got your axis of symmetry already. It's that. That's it. That is the axis of symmetry. It's 2 things. It gives you the x of the vertex and the axis of symmetry. And now I keep on saying that this is I'm telling you, it's true. Getting this part is the part that will separate the a's from the b's, but not because it's hard. It's just because people won't know what to do. So, Josh Lipnick, do you know what to do to get the blue question mark? There's an example. Okay. Bennett, do you know what to do to get the blue question mark?
Plug in negative 2 for the x.
Yes, the negative 2 is x, right? So you put negative 2 right here. Lipnick, now you got to do it. What's the negative 2 squared? Times 2 is 8. Plus, what's 8 times negative 2? Awesome. Can you finish it? Because this is y. Y equals, I'm about to get y. Y equals, can you do it? I think it was negative 18. Anybody verify negative 18? Okay. All right. So that's the blue question mark. Telling you, negative b over 2a is easy, and everybody gets that part. It's will you know to stick this in to the equation, and then you got to do it right. You know, there's a lot of little math to do. Like at the end, I'd use a calculator. Negative 18. That's the vertex. All right. You want to know one of the hard plus 5% problems? I'm not saying this is exactly on the test, but something like it. Can you tell me the equation for that then? You know the vertex form of the equation? I'll give you a hint. Starts with a parentheses and an X. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't. Shh. I believe you that you can do it, but give people a chance to do this. Can you make the vertex form of the equation from knowing the vertex? That's one of those plus 5% kind of questions, because it's hard.
Fire away.
X plus 2, you're correct. Then what? Yep. Squared, and then what? Minus 18. All right, now that's a really good start, but you got to ask yourself, is there something here? Hint, yes, it came from here. I bet you nobody, literally nobody in the room, remembered to put the 2 there. Did anybody? You got to look back and see, was there a value? Because if there is, it goes there. So easy to forget, isn't it? That's why we're reviewing. And if you've got a memory, you can remember this so that when we take the test, you remember to go back and look, is there an A value? There is. All right. That was one of those plus 5% kind of problems, because that's definitely hard. All right, now this one. The vertex, that should be easy street. Is it a maximum? Easy. Axis of symmetry comes right from the vertex. You don't have to go negative b over 2a. You can, but if you have the vertex, it's just the x of the vertex. Cross off D, please. We are not doing pattern of change. This is a mix of kind of like easy ones and one hard one. You can do it. Kieran, the vertex was?
3A.
Yes. Remember, anybody that said negative 3, we don't trust the inside. All right, next. Is it a max or a min? I do not see my friend Max. I only give one human name to one thing in all of first semester. That guy's name is Max. He wasn't there, so it's not a max. It's a minimum. Okay. Axis of symmetry, it's the x equals. You could start with that. Even if you didn't know the answer, it might get you going, and then you'd be like, I wonder if I see an x around here. There's the x. X equals 3. Axis of symmetry is just x equals, right? And we already have it. It's that. Now, could you have done negative b over 2a? Yeah, but you would have had to multiply this whole thing out, and it would be a pain in the butt. And then you could do negative b over 2a, but geez, so much easier to just grab it from here. All right, and then the last thing is standard form. I guess we're going to have to multiply this out anyways to get standard form. Some people still think that it's just x squared plus 9, and it is not. It's got 4 parts. It's this thing. I think you guys are going to do well on this test. Seems like you're following me. You're trying. I'm going to give you a quiz today, and it's like, I kind of like this. We have 2 quizzes. One for today that's like a little bit on the easy side, and then one for Monday that's kind of on the hard side. And this will today won't therefore go pretty well. If you learn from it, then the quiz we take on Monday, it's kind of the harder questions. You can learn from your quiz today. You should be able to handle the harder one that I give you on Monday. All right, by now you should have multiplied this thing out. X times x, x squared. I do this first, and that's negative 3x, and then this, which is another negative 3x, but the order doesn't really matter. Last is the negative 3 times the negative 3, which is positive 9. Then I'm bringing down my plus 8. So then I simplify it up. Don't forget y equals, I bet some of you did, x squared minus 6x, and that makes 17. Now do you get we have a, b, and c? And if you were lost on the axis of symmetry because you were like, but I need a, b, and c, You could have done it here and gone negative b over 2a, which would have been negative of negative 6, which is 6 over 2 times 1, which is 3. And look at that, x equals 3, the same thing we had for here, but it was a lot simpler to find it there. Okay, almost the last page. This one, the x-intercepts. They're what makes y equals 0. The x-intercepts have y equals 0, right? So there's a 0 right here. So then this reminds you, oh yeah, it's the things that make this 0. Remember that your answers almost are always points on this test. You can't just give an answer like 2. So if you feel like the answer's 5, stop yourself and go, oh, it's got to be a point. So it's either 5, 0 or 0, 5. And the x-intercept has y equal to 0. 5, 0, and negative 1, 0. All right, I want to stop you for a second, because this is the next level up from that, and you have to know this. What if it said this? One of my answers is easy. Negative 7. Duh. So it's negative 7, and then it's either negative 7 comma 0 or 0 comma negative 7. Then I got to think. I want my, these are x-intercepts, so the y is 0, so it must be that one. Okay. But how about this one? A ton of kids are going to say negative 10, and they are wrong. Because when you put negative 10 in here, does this really equal 0 then? Look, that doesn't equal 0. So don't just take the opposite of this number. That's not what you do. You figure out what makes it 0. So at least if you know, well, negative 10 isn't it, maybe that'll make you remember this. You set 2x plus 10 equal to 0, and you solve that. Everybody do that, please, and then figure out what is the actual answer for that x-intercept, because it's not negative 10. Mr. Nichols, first step on solving 2x plus 10 equals 0. Minus 10, minus 10, draw the line. 2x equals negative 10, then what? You can jump to the answer.
Then it's just negative 5.
Negative 5 is correct. And if you wrote that, I would cry a little bit and mark it wrong, because x-intercepts aren't, that, what you just wrote, I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying if a kid wrote that, they just gave me the axis of symmetry. That's not what we want. We want negative 5 as my answer, but we got to write it like this, because x-intercepts have their y equal to 0. That is going to happen to tons of kids, because they'll go through and solve it, and they'll get x equals, but x equals is a line. That's a line. X-intercepts aren't a line. X-intercepts are a point. Have to write it like that. So there's my 2 answers for that one. That's definitely upper level. It's not that hard. Look, negative 5, if you stick it right here, negative 5 makes that part 0. That's why negative 5 is the answer. Okay, now back out. Standard form. Oh, gross. Honestly, I'm going to skip this one for, as I told you I wasn't going to talk all hour, but you definitely have to do it. Do you know how to multiply this out and then multiply everything by negative 4? Because that's what you do. Multiply it out like that, and then multiply everything by negative 4. Now, the vertex. The vertex from this is not easy. But once you get this form written out, see, I'm going to jump right to the answer for that last one. Y equals negative 4x squared. Got to do math quick. This is negative 4x, so it'll be positive 16x, and then there'll be negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20. That's what you get when you multiply this whole thing out. I'm just a little faster than you guys. So now how would you get the vertex? Negative b over 2a again. And then you know the x of the vertex. Is it a Max? Yes, I see my friend Max. He's right there. Axis of symmetry, that's this. Kirian, help me do the negative b over 2a thing. What's negative b? So negative 16 over, what's 2a? That's not what 2a is. What's 2a? It'd be 2 times the negative 4, so we got negative 16 divided by negative 8, and what's the final answer to that? Negatives cancel. 2. So x equals 2 is the axis of symmetry. And is 2 a vertex?
No.
No, it's 2 comma something. And again, I know only the A students are going to know to stick this in and figure out what y comes out to be, and you'd put it there. All right, pattern of change, we're not doing that. Okay, last page. What we are doing that we haven't practiced yet is graphing again. How do you graph this kind? I would start with the vertex, which you guys all know. Lance, what's the vertex on this one? Not negative 4, we don't trust the inside. Did you say 4 and 8? You were close. 4, negative 8. There we go. Is that what you said in the first place? Awesome. I just didn't hear you, so I just asked questions, and you switched answers a lot because you thought
I thought it was wrong.
I know. All right, good. I'm glad you got it right. So 4, negative 8 is a great place to start. So I'm going to graph it. Over 4, down 8. Just because you've graphed before doesn't mean this is going to be easy for you, because we now need more points. Were you good at this last time? If you weren't good at finding points, then these are going to be the hardest points you've ever found. They're not that hard, but if you weren't good at finding points, I warned you that it was going to come back on multiple tests. Well, here it is on another test. You got to find points. Well, first point is that one, so put it in your list. 4, negative 8, but I'd put it in the middle of your list. Pro tip, put it in the middle of your list. And now pick numbers that are near 4. That would be smart things to put in. We're still just picking any number you want, but like if you put in 0, your answer is going to be huge. So put in things that are near 4, like 3 and 5. And 2 and 6. Those would be your happy place. Those are your points you got to find. Nordling, I'd like you to walk me through putting in the number 3. There's the 3 to start with. Then what do I do? 3. Okay, so 3 minus 4 is negative 1, and then what? Hint. The squared has to be next. Okay, so what's negative 1 squared? 1. And then times it by 2. 2. Then subtract 8. 2 minus 8. Yes. 3 gives you negative 6. Five. Caden, I'm going to have you walk through the 5. I'm putting 5 in now. 5 minus 4, what's that?
1.
1 squared.
1.
Yep. We're still at 1, but times it by 2.
2.
2 minus 8.
Negative 6.
I know that feels weird, but it is right.
Wait, wasn't that? We put in 5, not 2.
Oh, thank you, thank you. When you put in 5, you got negative 6 again, and that's going to happen a lot because these are parabolas. And it's like you just got 2 points across from each other like this. All right. In fact, it's going to happen again right now. I'm going to put in 6. And then Esh, I'm going to have you put in 2. So you start doing 2 in your head. I'm going to do 6. So here's putting in 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. I got put in 2. I got 0. Miss Esh, can you walk me through putting in, did I tell you to do 2 or 6?
I think you told me to do
Okay, and did you get 0?
Yeah.
Excellent. We verified it's the same thing, and by the way, you get the same thing when you put in 6. You get 0 again. Watch. Because 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. This happens all the time. Because why? Because let's look at the graph. 3 negative 6 is there. And 5 negative 6 is there. Look, they're at the same level, which is why they're both at negative 6, which makes sense when it's a parabola. And 2, 0 is there. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 0 is there.
Stop.
Yay. That's graphing.
Hold on.
But I'm warning you, harder graphing than last time because the points are harder to get. Because a lot of times you have to like square stuff. It's not that bad. You got a calculator. You can do it. But do you get if you mess up one of your points, it won't look like a U shape and it'll be wrong. Like if this point was over here, I'd probably notice and be like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. And then I'd check my work. Maybe I made a mistake. And yeah, I would have because they have to be exactly here. All right. How do you graph this one? Same way, XY chart, but you don't get a nice free gimme easy one to put in because you don't have the vertex this time. So in that case, start with anything. I'd probably start with 0. 0, 0. Ooh, that was really easy. Put in 0. I got 3. And as long as that's a decent sized number, then you can go near it. Like, I'll put in 1. I'll put in negative 1. I'll put in 2. I'll put in negative 2. See, my first answer came out fairly small. That means that the other ones near it will come out okay also. Now this one, last chance for those of you that are A students or want to be A students on this. That negative 1, putting it in is really tricky because some kids are like, well, there's already a negative here, so I'll just put a 1 in. No, you got to put in negative 1 right here. If we're putting in negative 1, it goes where the X is. And yeah, there'll be a double negative. And then you got to know that those negatives don't cancel each other.
Because that's max.
Yes, that's true. And you don't want the negative to go away because negative is important because it's a maximum. Very good. Okay, so what does happen? That gets squared first. And then the negative goes on there. So this would be 1, and then the negative goes on, so it'd be negative 1. And then I'd put in a negative 1 here, and that's easy. Everybody can do that. Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. And then plus 3 comes down. That part right here, heads up to the straight A students, watch out for that kind. I'd put a parenthesis around the X and drop in the negative, and remember to square it first. So negative 1 squared was 1. Then this negative goes on last, and it became negative 1. So when I put in negative 1, I'll add this all up now. I get 6. So putting negatives into something that's already negative is challenging. All right. This one, honestly, this one's not that bad. X, Y. And the nice part is I already know 2 points on it right away. The x-intercepts would be 2, 0, and this -2 for this one, which is -2 comma 0, those are points. 2, 0, -2, 0. And then I just need a few more points. Like, let's stick in 1. Let's stick in 0. And just a few more points. All right. So I'm going to stick in 1 here just to show you one normal point. So I stick in a 1, and I stick in a 1 on the other x. And then this would be -1. And this would be 1 plus 2 is 3. And then don't forget the -2 in the front. And now I'm going to multiply them out. That is 2 times 3 is 6. I put in 1. I got 6. Graph a bunch of points. And surprisingly, it's a U shape. They're all U shapes because they're all parabolas. They're all quadratics. For the kids that forgot the word quadratic on the last test that was called quadratics, quadratics are the things with the squared on them. That's a quadratic. All right. And there, you've made it to the end. That's a review of everything you'd have to know to do well on this test. They were on the easier side. So there's a few harder problems than that on the test, but we'll practice those on Monday. And that's all I got for you for today.